Hi, everyone. I'm Liz. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Seasons Retirement Community. Thank you so much for joining us for another educational Vet2Vet Cafe evening. I'm so excited to introduce you to my co-sponsor of this event, Shelby Duncan. Shelby, let me turn it over to you to talk a little bit about the program and everything that we've got lined up for tonight.
Thanks, Liz, and thanks everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Shelby Duncan, and I am We Honor Veterans Coordinator at Grace Hospice and also a community liaison. It's my great pleasure this evening to introduce everyone to Erica Reynolds from the Vet Center here in Cincinnati. She is a veterans outreach specialist, but she is so much more. She is a wealth of information, a font of knowledge, and just an all-around excellent person who's going to share a lot of information with us this evening. And I'll turn it over to you, Erica. Oh, who I forgot is also a U.S. Army veteran. Thank you. That's the big part I forgot. Thanks for joining us, Erica, and I will let you take the stage.
Hey, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. In this pandemic world, I have done many of these presentations, but it's been a few months. So if I'm a little rusty or if I talk too much, roll with me, okay? So I work at the Cincinnati Vet Center. We're located in Norwood, Ohio. There are 7 vet centers in the state of Ohio. We are part of the VA and are governed by the VA, but our umbrella of our hierarchy comes from St. Louis. So we really don't have a lot of, the bureaucracy of the Cincinnati VA doesn't really come into a play in our center. The main thing we do at the Cincinnati Vet Center is provide readjustment counseling services. We also provide sexual trauma or harassment counseling. We provide bereavement counseling. And we also operate as just a resource center. So we have group counseling, so you can come and meet and socialize with other war zone veterans. We're located in the community, in the hub of the community purposefully, so we can be, kind of that city center. If you have a question about education benefits or how your disability is looking, or why you can't get a hold of this person at the 800 number, then we strive to be that kind of resource point for you. Besides that, like traditional one-on-one counseling, we also have workshops coming up in the springtime. We're going to do some container gardening workshops. We're going to do some movement and flow type classes. In the past, we've had a writing workshop. We've had a mindful drawing class. We're in the plans of talking about a photography class, which we started pre-COVID. And so now things, our veterans are starting to get vaccinated. We're vaccinated at the vet center. And so things are starting to open up. So for today, for this particular meeting, I thought that we could kind of talk about VA burial and survivor benefits and kind of what you're entitled to or what that might look like for you. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little PowerPoint. Well, it's not little, it's 20 slides. I'll try to go through them, as painstakingly as I can. So let me try and share my screen and get this PowerPoint up for everyone. Share. Bear with me. Do you guys see it? Awesome. Okay, so VA burial and survivor benefits. And a lot of this information is known, but navigating it can kind of seem daunting. So we're just going to run down a few things, and then at the end, we'll kind of talk about what that looks like for you as far as accessing those benefits. So here we go. All right, so who can participate in eligibility for a burial in a national cemetery. And during this presentation, when I say national cemetery, I mean national cemetery and also VA funded state cemeteries. Those two things are interchangeable. So all members of the armed forces and veterans who have met the eligibility, or their spouses, minor children, and even some unmarried dependent adult children might be eligible. Recently, reservists who have died on active duty or who have served 20 years. The 20-year mark is an eligibility requirement for reservists. Your benefits for burial include your grave site in any national cemetery or any space in a VA-funded cemetery, the opening and the closing of the grave, a government headstone or marker, perpetual care of the grave, a burial flag, a president's certificate, and then the VA, their benefits administration pays the burial plot and the plot allowance. That's a law. Okay, so let me go back up here real quick. So these are just the little, these are just little PowerPoints of the benefits. So to break it down a little bit, the burial flag program, is the flag used to drape the casket of the members of the armed forces. The flag's usually given to the next of kin, or it can be donated. Most cemeteries have an avenue of flags that have the veterans flags. Interestingly enough, the U.S. Post Office is actually the issue point for burial flags. So typically that's where you're going to get it from, but not always, right? Because sometimes the post office doesn't have them. And if that's the case, then you're just going to get with the funeral director, and they should know how to order a flag. And then here's, where the vet center would come in. And if your funeral director doesn't know, or they're telling you that you have to get it yourself, that's when you would call up the vet center and say like, hey, Erica, this funeral director is saying they don't know what to do. And then I would, be glad to help them with that process. So typically the funeral home or the veterans contact the National Cemetery to schedule, okay? And all your discharge documents can be faxed right to the funeral home. If you don't have those documents, your DD-214, that's, shows your service, then your funeral home can request that. And the turnaround time usually takes about 48 hours. Whereas if a family member were to do it, it might take upwards of 3 weeks. We get all sorts of feedback for the time of it. But typically a burial for military discharge document grabs are considered an emergency. So they try to process in 48 hours. So along with the flag, you also are provided a headstone and marker. So the graves of eligible veterans in private and government cemeteries around the world can, have the ability to have the headstones and markers, all different styles, all different emblems, all different religious emblems. There's a whole book that kind of shows what you can put on the marker. And then the bronze medallion is affixed to a headstone that might already be there. So say you've already got, you have a veteran, a family member that's in already has his privately purchased headstone. Well, you can get a bronze medallion attached to that headstone. That's part of those benefits. You can order that the same way you would order, had you not ordered a private headstone, okay? And then they also do like memorial certificates, which are signed by the president, and those are usually passed out to loved ones. So the Department of Defense is responsible for providing military honors. The Department of Defense has a program called Honoring Those Who Serve that calls for funeral directors to request the honors. So then what happens is the VA staff assists in the coordination with local organizations like a VFW or like an AMVET to provide the military honors, the military funeral with honors. Okay, so burial benefits are paid to a spouse, and they are paid partially to offset the cost of the burial expense. And they're different pay rates. I can't say like, oh, you're going to get X amount of money. It's all based on, um, whether it was service connected or whether it wasn't service connected. Did the veteran receive VA benefits prior to passing? Then they're usually paid right to the spouse. Not a lot of, red tape, if you will, with that established proof already. So a non-service connected burial benefit has a 2-year cap, but a service connected, there's no cap. You can file for that 5 years down the road if you needed to. And then there's some survivor benefits for spouses or dependents. And those benefits vary, different based on needs, different needs. Okay. The survivor's benefits that you may or may not be eligible for, but it's definitely worth looking into. DIC is a monthly benefit that's paid to eligible survivors. And it's not income based. Okay. It oftentimes gets confused with the parents' DIC that is income based. So, we usually tell most survivors to look into filing for DIC. And then there's some education programs set aside for survivors, like through the VA, this education benefits program. And then also there's some different scholarships. Here's an example of one that provides, up to 36 months active duty. There are some stipulations. I put a little example here. For example, you have to use it between 18 and 33 years of age. And then there's also what's called a survivor's pension. And this is income based. And it's paid to unremarried surviving spouses and children of wartime veterans whose death is not service related. Okay. So the survivor's pension pays a max annual amount, and it's offset by income from, say, Social Security or something like that. Okay. And to get since it is net worth and income based, the service officers who you'd hopefully be working with to file these benefits are going to help you figure out, for example, it says some unreimbursed medical expenses could be used, like, well, if you are buying special dietary things, or you had to buy a new wheelchair, or you had to, that can take away from your annual income, your countable income, and maybe get you to qualify for something that you normally wouldn't. And then there's the special monthly pension benefit. This is an additional fund that's available to survivors who, in the receipt of a pension, because they are mentally or physically disabled, they are housebound maybe, or somebody has to perform daily tasks for them. It does require evidence from a doctor or a specialist, but that's another option as well. And then there's a whole bunch of other things like the CHAMP VA, which I think most people are familiar with, that provides reimbursement for medical expenses for people who are not eligible for TRICARE. And then still, as a survivor, you might be able to qualify for a VA home loan, even though the veteran has passed, or to help repair your home, or to make adaptations so you can stay in home. And then lastly, there's the month of death benefit. So typically, if a veteran is receiving pension or compensation already, when they pass, their last month of benefit is going to be paid to their surviving spouse. That typically happens, look at my typo, that typically happens automatically. And then if not, so the VA main help number, 800-827-1000. you can always call to ask those kind of questions. But we recommend at the vet center, we recommend always reaching out to your local VSO or your county VSO. So your county VSOs are, they're going to be in your county, right? Whereas a VSO might be at the main VA. Like we've got some at the Cincinnati VA, and then all the counties around us, Hamilton, Butler, Warren, they've all got county service officers. Well, these guys are trained in all these forms, in filing, where it has to go, what it looks like. And so we really do recommend, we get phone calls, it's so daunting, right? And overwhelming. And we get phone calls often. We say, don't worry, call this number. These guys are going to help you file. You won't even have to fill out the forms. Like these guys will help you, figure it all out. And then in the meantime, if you have questions with how things are rolling, you can always call that 800-827-1000 number, or there's separate numbers for just the burial and survivor pensions, and then the headstones and the markers where, if it's running behind or something like that. So there's a lot of information available, and there's a lot of benefits, afforded to you that I'm going to stop sharing. There's a lot of benefits that are afforded to you that sometimes do seem overwhelming, but even if you just get the gist of, okay, I heard that there's some kind of burial benefit, then, make that phone call, connect with a vet center or a VSO. And that's going to be the hardest, part as far as navigating for you. And that's the goal, I think, of vet centers and your local VSOs. So that's my burial benefit presentation. I know I flew through a lot of that information. I have the PowerPoints that I can send. I'll send to you guys. And then we've got, the VA provides a legacy book. And I wish I had one with me, and I apologize. I thought I had one and I don't. But it's like a magazine size book that really goes into depth. Those slides gives you all that information. Not only that, but all the forms that you would need to file for your benefit or a CHAMP VA or any education benefit. Anything we really talked about are in those booklets. I don't recommend you doing it yourself because there's help out there, but it is nice to see like that, to have that information. And then those booklets also have a legacy section, which allow you as the veteran to write down your important people, who are your dependents, what is the funeral home you want to use, where is your DD-214, and get all this stuff together, and then just tuck it away for when you need it.
Thanks, Erica. I have a question for you. So if we have someone who is maybe doing some pre-planning, preparing for the future, they are a veteran or their spouse was a veteran, what is the best way for them to start investigating what may or may not be available? Is that a call to the vet center, or is that a different specialist? Who do they sit down with and reach out to really start the process of understanding everything that's available to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say to call me at the vet center. I'd be more than happy to talk to somebody about, and it does not just burial benefits, but like any kind of benefit. And then typically my number one referral, honestly, is to a VSO, is to a county veterans service officer. They're the professionals that get the training in the forms, the flow of things, all these different nuances of the VA. Things are always changing. Criteria is changing. Eligibility is changing. And that can be overwhelming as a VA employee. But you're right, without that specialized training, you're like, I'm not sure about this. So yeah, and then typically, pre-COVID, most like the main campus at downtown in Cincinnati, would have these classes, and hopefully we'll start to see some of those sooner than later. The AARP would oftentimes go and give classes there in the auditorium at the Cincinnati VA. So hopefully as things start to open up, we'll see some more of those kind of resource workshops.
Erica, the books, the legacy booklets that you mentioned, I've seen them and I think they are amazing. How would someone get a copy of one? I know we have them at the Grace Hospice office, but if you were just someone watching this online, would they call
Oh,
you
yeah.
or online?
Yeah,
How would they get
absolutely.
it?
Yeah. I mean, if you're local and you want to bop into the vet center, sure. Yeah, give me a call. I actually put my here I typed out my information. I can screen share that real quick. So we can have that, we can like kind of have that up and going while we talk. I think that I mean, I hate to say like, oh yeah, just bop into the VA because they're going to have it, because I can't, I don't know. We've got lots at the vet center. The vet center, they mailed us, let me share this. They mailed, okay, so there's my contact information up on the screen. If you want to shoot me an email and I mail them out to you, you want to stop by the vet center and pick up some, or Shelby, Liz, I can always hand some off to you guys if somebody wants to reach out to either one of you. Hey, we need some of these, that's definitely something. And we have access to more. So, but we do have quite a bit at the vet center, to be honest with you. And I agree, they're good books. I gave one to my dad. He's a Navy veteran. I mailed one to my uncle. Like, I did like utilize this. It's like I said, even if it's just something that you do and tuck away, how often do we get phone calls or inquiries from people who need their spouses or their father's DD-214 and they don't have it? They don't know where it is, or they know it's somewhere in his house. And so, and like, where do we get that? So what a great gift to just put that information in a little thing and tuck it away, and there it is.
So if someone wanted to come by the vet center these days with, we're still in the pandemic, what's the protocol for visiting? Can people just stop in? Do they have to, I'm assuming they have to wear a mask. Is it better if they schedule? What do y'all prefer?
Mm-hmm. Well, typically, typically, yeah, give us a phone call and schedule something. But in a case like this, if you just want to bop in and chat about some benefits or resources, we're usually in the building 7:30 to 4:30. And the screening protocols are much like when you go to the doctor's office or the main VA. You take your temperature, we'll ask you those travel questions. And if you've been, we'll do the typical screening that we've all kind of been through. Wear your mask. And, as long as you pass that short screening process, then not a problem. You can come on in. We've been open, we haven't closed. The vet center's mission is, was to stay open, and we stayed open. And so it's casual in that way of coming in and just wanting to talk or find out, have a cup of coffee and kind of find out about your benefits. Yeah, I would say just call, make sure I'm in the office, because as the outreach person, I am oftentimes out in the community at events or helping out with other agency events. So, and then also I did want to mention that in April, we are going to have an open house and we're going to have a cookout, and so I'll make sure to share that information with you guys as well.
In that line, Erica, you had mentioned some of the workshops that are coming up. What is the best way for people to kind of dial in, see what's coming up? Is there an online newsletter? Do they check your website? What's the best way for people to find out what you've got going on so that if they want to be involved, they can?
Yeah, okay, thanks for asking. Right now, we are in the process of getting a website built for us, which is really exciting. Yeah. Um, they're working, not us personally at the Cincinnati Vet Center, but like all vet centers. Right now, if you search for the vet center, it's just your local generic information that tells you the address and the phone number and stuff. And we are excited to be afforded a little more detail, so we will be able to post calendars and stuff like that. But right now, we do say the best way is to call. We try to share information at the main campus, and they share that on their social media pages. But for now, the best way is just give us a call and find out what's current.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Erica, thank you so much for all of the information about the vet center and about burial end-of-life benefits for veterans. As the child of a veteran and the wife of a veteran, I even learned something new. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Erica, we appreciate you so much. It's such an important service that you and your peers at the Vet Center provide. Of course, thank you for your service as a veteran yourself. And I'm sure you'll be getting lots of calls and questions as everyone dials in and takes a look at this great information. So thank you so much for your time. It was very generous of you to give that to us tonight.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.